I joined Instagram in mid-2019. I'd had Facebook for quite a while, and I used it to keep in touch with friends, family, coworkers, and things like that. But more and more people I noticed were getting Instagrams, so I went ahead and got myself one. I'm 64 years old, and I'm a huge country music fan. My all-time favorite is George Strait. So I started following George Strait on Instagram. And almost instantly after following him, I got a message from a man called George Strait Fan Club. He said he was George Strait's manager and he wanted to thank me for being a fan, and he'd love to put me in touch with George Strait. Now I was surprised and I was a bit shocked, but I was actually quite happy. I'd never actually met George Strait, even though I've been to a few of his concerts and I have every album he's ever made. I know every song by heart. I told the man that I was a huge fan and would love to meet him, and he said George would be available for a video chat, and that if I could add him to Hangouts, he would be more than willing to chat with me and thank me for being a fan. I was ecstatic. I just thought this is how Instagram works. I ended up downloading Hangouts, which is another app that I had never used before. I ended up talking to this man via text message on Hangouts. He told me that George was super excited to talk to me, but I had to give him a copy of my ID first so he could do a background check to make sure that I was a true fan and that nothing was wrong with me and I wasn't going to harm George as he was talking to me on his private account. I told him I would do it. I was a little unsure, but I went ahead and sent a copy of my driver's license. He then asked me if I had a copy of my passport, in which I told him I don't have a passport, I never travel. I live in Mobile, Alabama, and I hardly ever leave my state. After a few days, he got back with me and said that everything checked out and that George will be talking to me soon. But first, I had to go ahead and pay the application fee to speak with George. Now, I've joined fan clubs before in the past, way before the internet, and we used to pay a yearly or monthly fee just to be in the fan club. So I figured this would be okay. He told me it would be $300 and I could either send via Cash App, if I had a Cash App, or I could buy $300 in iTunes or Steam gift cards, scratch off the numbers, and send them to him, and then he would put George on video. Now, I thought $300 was quite a lot of money, but I really came this far and I wanted to talk to George Strait. The next day I went down to the store and I bought $300 in iTunes gift cards. I scratched off the numbers and gave them to the guy via Hangouts chat. He thanked me and told me George would be with me in a moment, and pretty soon I started getting a video call. Lo and behold, it was a little bit dark, but it was George Strait, or so I thought it was him live. He spoke for maybe 2 seconds, said hello, thank you, and then hung up. He said the video connection was poor because he was on the road, but thanked me for being a fan in text chat. I later found out that the video was just a stolen clip of him, and they just darkened the video to make it look like he was in his tour bus. But it was actually a video clip from one of his award shows. I was duped out of $300, and I felt stupid. I now get all kinds of friend requests from more fans of George Strait and George Strait, but I now know it's not the real singer, and it's just a scammer. Story 2. I'm a huge fan of country singer Jason Aldean. I've seen him in concert many times, and I can say, yes, I'm a super fan. One night on Instagram, and I always comment on his posts, I got a private message from someone that claimed to be Jason Aldean. He even had the little blue check mark next to his name like the Real Verified profile had. I was excited and started chatting with him. He said he was wanting to get to know me and he had seen all my comments on his fan page and on his regular page, and he wanted to see if I was a single woman and if I was interested in knowing him. Now I know Jason and I follow him regularly. I know he's in a relationship. I know all about him. So when I asked him about his significant other, he told me that they were breaking up, but he didn't want to tell the media or let anyone know because then it would spill over into the media and the tabloids. I told him that I felt special that he was letting me keep his secret. I'd been single for several years now, and I'm disabled. I have some physical disabilities that really prevent me from finding a special someone. Most people can't see past my disability to even give me a chance. Jason said he didn't care. He said he loved my photos and thought I was beautiful. I spent some time in text chat explaining to him that my disabilities prevent me from doing a lot of things, and he said he didn't care. He wanted to be with me, and he had assistants that could help me. And that he asked me if I would go on tour with him and ride around in his tour bus and jet around the country in his plane. I told him I think I would hold him back, as a lot of times I can't walk very far. And he told me it didn't matter. And I said, well, I'm a little bit older than you as well. And he told me age is just a number. We started chatting more and more on Instagram, and then he asked me to download WhatsApp. He gave me what he said was his private number, and that I could call him anytime on that private number, but please don't give it out to anybody. We started talking more and more on WhatsApp, and his Instagram profile disappeared. He told me that he shut it down. He said people were getting jealous because they found out about his online relationship. And I told him I didn't want any trouble, and he said no. He said he was leaving everything behind to be with me. And I truly believe this man was Jason. He said he couldn't video call because his managers watch everything he does, so he just texts me on his personal phone after concerts and when he's in his hotel. He even sent me photos of himself in his hotel room and sent me photos from backstage. He said he was thinking of me, and he was working on a new song dedicated just for me. I was ecstatic. I was elated. I didn't know what else to do. I was over the moon thinking that Jason Aldean was dating me. I imagined our life together, what we would do, things we would see, and all the fun stuff that I never really have gotten to do with anyone. We continued the relationship online for a few months. He said he was on tour, and as soon as he got off tour, he was going to come to my state and visit me. I was excited about it, but I live a pretty simple life. I just have a small apartment, and I told him this. He told me he wanted to buy me a house. He then told me to go on sites like Zillow and Realtor and look for a house. He told me to pick out whatever I wanted. I'm a modest woman. I didn't want a big house. I went on Zillow and found a simple house in the country. It was only $100,000, which to me is like $1 million. I showed him a link to the house, and he told me he would have his personal assistant contact me about purchasing the house and putting it in my name. I was super excited. I was happy. I didn't know what else to think. It was like a fairy tale dream come true. A few days later, I got a WhatsApp message from a man calling himself John Biggs. He said he was Jason's personal banker and would help me to get this home. He said that he needed a copy of my driver's license. I told him I don't drive, but I have a state ID. He asked for that, and I sent it to him. He then asked me if I had any bank information that I could send to him so that he could wire me the money or transfer it into my account, and then I could go ahead and buy the house. I told him I have a bank account, and that's all I use. I don't have any credit cards or any other way to transaction money, and I really prefer not to go out of the house to pick up a wire transfer. And he said no, it would have to be a bank transfer. He would change his story a little bit, but I thought it was because of the amount of money that he was sending me. He told me Jason was going to send me $150,000. $100,000 was for the house and $50,000 was to furnish it. I was over the moon. I couldn't believe this was happening. It was so crazy. He asked me if I had online banking, and I told him yes, because I don't leave the house often. I pay all of my bills via online banking. He then asked me for the password and the login information because he would have to go in to make sure the account is legit and verify it, and then he would deposit the money. So I gave him my login information and password. He told me he'd be in touch in a few days. I didn't hear from him, and then a few days later I get a phone call from my bank and a text alert saying that my account has been overdrawn. I didn't know what to think of that. I knew I had bills coming out, but I had my disability payment in there, and I had enough money to cover my bills and rent. When I went to log into my account, I found that my password had been changed. I ended up having to call the bank and verify who I was, and they went ahead and changed my password for me again. They said that my account had been overdrawn, that there had been money taken out, and I was at a negative balance, and then my phone bill and my rent had bounced. The bank said that the money that I had in there had been transferred via a wire transfer from one bank to another bank in Malaysia. It was an international transfer. I don't know anybody in Malaysia, and I certainly don't know how to wire transfer internationally. They closed my bank account and let me know that they would investigate it for fraud and get back with me. But in the meantime, my rent was late and my phone was going to be shut off because the bill wasn't paid. I tried to message Jason, and it looked like he had either shut his WhatsApp off or he wasn't answering. It showed he hadn't been online. I tried to talk to his manager, and I got no response. I knew something was fishy and something was wrong. I knew I'd probably been scammed, and maybe I wasn't talking to the real Jason. I ended up having to file a police report. And long story short, I never got my money back. The bank said because I gave this person my login and password and permission to use my account, that I'm held liable for all charges and the missing money is gone. Unfortunately, I found myself in a predicament where I had to take a loan out from family just to cover my rent so I wouldn't become homeless. My family is very angry with me now because I wasted all that money talking to a fake Jason Aldean. They even wanted me to shut off my social media profile so it doesn't happen again. I'll never trust anybody again online, and I do get messages once in a while from other, quote, famous country singers. I just block them. I promised my family I would never ever talk to another so-called country singer ever again. I feel stupid, and I hope other women and men out there learn that real country singers are not looking for ordinary and simply disabled people like myself for a relationship. Thanks for letting me share my story, and I hope it helps others as it's helped me to share it with you all. We'd like to thank these two ladies for sharing their stories. If you've had an encounter with an online scammer, be it one pretending to be a famous singer or just one pretending to be an ordinary person trying to date you, you can always drop us your story at Facebook under the page Scamming Scammers Action, or drop us an email, scammingscammers@gmail.com. Give me a little bit of time and I will narrate your video for you, and you can share your story, and you can always remain anonymous. Thanks for listening. Take care.